Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what Legends about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lez Hang Out, the podcast of Forbidden Love. Are we supposed to be together? Forbidden Love. A little Madonna, Ellie?
I was like,
Forbidden Love.
I've literally never heard that song in my life.
Oh, you gotta look it up.
Oh man,
What's it about?
I feel I'm a bad Madonna fan.
Probably a very 80s
Yes.
bop. When do I think that came out? Madonna, Forbidden Love. Let's see.
Did you know Madonna has the most #1 hits of any female artist ever? At like 54.
Wow.
54.
Oh,
#1 hits.
1994. 1994 hit.
So not even 80s.
Yeah.
But 54 #1 hits.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
What an icon.
You know, I realized this because I was watching the Super Bowl and we were talking about Rihanna. And I was like, I know Rihanna is the second highest and she has like 30. But then I
Yeah.
was like, that's insane. To have more than 50 #1 hits. That's insane.
She is a bop machine. That's it.
insane. Yeah.
Okay, well look up Forbidden Love. You'll get a
I'm sure
kick
I'll
out of it.
Mhm.
From the West Coast, I'm Leigh Holmes Foster.
From the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who've been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base every episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. And we want to start with reminding you that we are recording bonus Patreon episodes every month now for all of our supporters on Patreon. Our last one came out on February 26th. It was on The Kids Are All Right. We were joined by our friend Rebecca, who had lots of opinions, as did we, on that movie. If you want to catch that and all of our other Patreon episodes, that was our 18th so far. They are all available if you join at any amount at bit.ly/lespatreon. We also want to remind you that we are closing in on the finale of our new musical, Journey to the Heart. The final episode of this path through the story will come out on March 18th, and we will be having a listening party that Thursday night with the creative team behind the musical to listen and talk through our thoughts on the episode. But we also want to remind you this is only one version of the story. We will be releasing the other path, so we'll take all 3 votes, switch the choices, and release that path through the story since we haven't heard it. And it will also be going up eventually as a self-navigable, so you can sort of make your own way, make your choices through the story. But we are so excited. So if I know some people wait until the whole thing is out so that they can binge listen, if that is something you've been waiting to do, March 18th, that is your day when the whole story will be out. You can listen to the whole thing through, but we're so excited. It's been so fun to hear what people think of it. We've been working on this for a really long time, and that's when episode 6 is going to come out. In the greater Lez universe, first, we'll talk with sort of a womp-womp story, which is that Italy has a very conservative government right now, and their latest move is they've been removing same-sex parents from birth certificates. So they passed new laws that only biological parents could be listed on birth certificates, which obviously is affecting any same-sex families. A lot of moms and dads are being removed from their kids' birth certificates, which is gross. Italy, stop doing that. I'm sure it will also affect some heterosexual families, since many of these laws tend to do that as well. So hurting lots of people, not a great move. In other news, I've seen some interviews that Kristen Stewart's been doing in sort of the promo round for Love Lies Bleeding, obviously her new movie that's coming out right now, which is sort of a much, darker, grittier story. One of the stories she was comparing, one of the interviews she did, she was comparing the process of making Love Lies Bleeding to, our favorite movie, Happiest Season. And it was very interesting just to hear her really not so subtle take on what it was like working with the studios for Happiest Season and how she felt like, they really wanted to sort of squash down a lot of queerness and queer identity and things that would have made the story or the role feel a little bit more authentic to her, and how she wouldn't have had the patience that Clea Duvall did. So, I love getting some just behind the scenes look at what maybe making that movie was like. Sounds like she probably had a better experience making Love Lies Bleeding, at least we hope so. And we're excited to hear everyone's thoughts on that movie. Also, I know there's been a lot of buzz lately about the new trailers coming out for Inside Out 2. A lot of people sort of picked up on the very, very gay vibes that Riley is having in this sequel to Inside Out. So Riley is, hitting the teen years. I think she's turning 13 in this one, and now has a really, really strong, omnipresent brain picture of this. She's got the colored streak in her hair. She plays hockey, just kind of this cool, hot girl that she can't stop thinking about. And a lot of people are saying, does Riley have a crush on this girl? So listen, I feel like I'm going to set my expectations high for this and then be wildly disappointed by this movie, as we all should. So if you'd like to join me on that, let's headcanon Riley as gay for Inside Out 2 right now. And then we can all be angry about it later together. Sound good? Cool. That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Leigh. Thanks, Ellie and Leigh. We are so excited to bring you episode 15 of season 7, Forbidden Love.
Forbidden.
Forbidden.
It
is forbidden.
Today, this is one of our topic episodes, and it's been on our list for a while of what is so delicious, exciting about a forbidden love story, and particularly the intersection of forbidden love and queer love stories. I mean,
yes.
I think it's a pretty obvious intersection, but we're gonna talk about it.
We're gonna get into it. Okay, I want to start first with just in a general sense of what do we know about forbidden love stories? What are some of the top classics, right? The big hitters.
The big hits. I mean, Romeo and Juliet is obviously the biggest one, right?
Sure.
And then I feel like there's just been
star-crossed
recycled Romeo and Juliets for the rest of time. West Side Story. I guess you're right. There's different kinds of forbidden love, but I feel like the biggest one is the star-crossed lovers, feuding families, and they can't be together because their families hate each other, but there's also the forbidden love of the affair.
Yeah.
Right? We can't be together because I have a husband. This is so crazy. And the forbidden love.
What if somebody sees us, right?
Exactly. And the forbidden love of the teacher-student variety.
No.
We
have some thoughts. We have some feelings on that.
We know our feelings on the teacher-student, but I'm there's a million. That is sort of crazy. Why do we have so many
why is it? It's
but we can't.
Right. And also
office romance.
Also the
but I'm best
one,
friends with your sister. There's so many.
I'm trying to find a good segue into this, and I just don't have one. But have you ever heard this statistic where it's I feel like people say all the time that they're the most popular porn category is always incest porn or weird things, right? Yeah. And I'm I didn't have a good segue into that, and I actually don't even know if it's true.
Into that.
I don't know, you can't. And I also don't even know if that's true or if this is just I'm derailing us so fast tonight. So here's the thing. I've missed you, Ellie. Here's the thing. When you have children, one of the things that's really interesting is your children ask you questions, and then you realize why before the internet, like, people just made shit up, and then we all grew up believing stuff that was, like, 100% invented by, like, your uncle who just didn't know the answer and wanted you off his back, right? Like,
Yeah.
So now I'm realizing all of the little things that, like, float around in your brain where you're like, oh, I heard this once, and then you're like, is that even true? I don't know, and I'm not going to look it up because it's, useful for the purposes of our topic today, but I've heard that before, that it is like an incredibly popular category on porn sites. And so, not that I do not want to spend today's episode talking about incest porn, I promise.
Please,
but
no.
I am just, there's something that I find interesting about this, like, human innate drive for, like, the taboo, right?
Yes. Especially in when it comes to sex and sexuality.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Is like there is an excitement in it's like the if you tell me not to do it, of course I want to do it.
Right.
Like
right.
that kind of human nature that is like it's like almost like primal. It's like almost childlike, right? Where it's like you can literally trace it back to like you're in elementary school and your teacher says don't talk and you're like, but I want to talk. And so I'm going to talk to my friends here and fuck off, teacher, you know?
And even to the point of, like, because this will factor into, like, some of the shows that I know we want to talk about later, too. But even going back to the creation, like, biblical stories,
Adam and
right?
Eve.
Of it's like, oh, like, don't eat from the tree. And they're like, gonna eat from the tree. Like, are we just poorly evolved monkeys that it's like, you cannot put something in front of us and be like, you can't have this without us immediately being like, well, that's all I want. Like, that's the only thing I want.
I mean, it's like,
That's it.
if you look at my dog, if a burger is put in front of him and I'm like, no, you can't eat this burger. Of course, he wants the burger.
But do you think if you just gave him the burger, he wouldn't want the burger?
Oh, no. He would want the burger no matter what.
That's what I'm saying.
But
humans,
yes,
though,
humans
it's like
are
if you
like-
put a burger in front of us and we're like, you can't eat this burger, it would be like, all I want on this earth is that burger. But if you were like, hey, do you want a burger? It'd be like, I don't know, I'm not hungry.
I'm good.
Actually, I'm fine.
It is
I don't
true.
even really
We
like
want-
burgers.
Yeah, we want what we can have. To be fair, anyone puts a burger in front of me any time of day, I'll probably eat it. But that's, that's me personally. But it is the idea of you want something more when you can't have it, or someone tells you cannot have it. And it's an easy trope to throw in pretty much all of your
Yes.
media. And I mean, it's in straight media as well, but I do find it to be an interesting conversation to talk about the queerness of it all, because it's like a lot of our cinema and TV is centered around gay is bad,
Right.
right? So like the first layer of like any queer relationship is forbidden
Mm-hmm.
because it's queer, like the Brokeback Mountains of the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's like the first thing I think of like I can't quit you.
Every period drama
Yeah.
queer movie ever made, right?
Yes.
And what's funny is, like, so here's what I think is interesting. We talk a lot about how, like, you and I, when it comes to a lot of period piece queer stories, right? We're kind of like, at this
Yeah.
point, whatever, right? But I know, like, Jana,
Obsessed. She loves the
Obsessed.
forbidden love story. She really
Right?
does. She's like,
And-
oh my god, give me the longing, give me the looking at each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
give me the forbidden taboo, like secret glances, secret meeting, clandestine notes passed. Like, people eat that shit up. And I
Yep.
don't, I like that. I don't not get it. I mean, like, yeah, that stuff is great. That stuff is great. But it's interesting to me that there's a weird intersection that happens, and it leads me to have some questions about whether this is good for us or not.
This is good for the queer
So
community or like people.
Both.
Okay,
I
okay.
want to talk about it. First, I want to talk about what are some of your top queer. So, like, we did some of the top heavy hitters just in general of, like, forbidden love stories. What are some of your top queer heavy
I
hitters?
mean, honestly, my number one, which is always my number one, is Imagine Me and You, even, right?
Yeah.
It is completely forbidden, right?
Yep.
They meet at her freaking wedding.
It's so problematic. It's
And
so problematic.
I love it.
Yeah.
Please give me that secret kissing scene where they're kissing in the back room on the flowers. And
when
oh
her
no,
fucking husband walks
here.
in. And you're like, why is this so good? Why is
So
this
good.
so amazing? Why am I so into this? Your heart is racing.
Yes.
And you're like, yes, the emotions are high. Endorphins are flying. It is
It's great.
chef's kiss. It's great. It's
So-
great, and it's so problematic.
And it's
right?
it is, but also we love it. So Imagine Me and You is one of my top ones. Bound.
Yeah.
I mean,
My
that one.
husband's gonna beat you to death because
Yeah, my husband will literally murder you.
yeah. Sure.
That's terrifying.
but
You
hot.
know, also Carol.
Yeah.
right?
All the
Well, that-
all the period
Carol
piece
has
kinda,
a lot
right?
of the things. It's like older woman kind of forbiddenness. It's also married woman forbidden nature. It's I
It's
can't be
also
gay because
secretive
my kids will get taken away
1940s.
from me. Forbiddenness, you know, that whole thing. Is the forbiddenness a word? I don't know.
For forbidity.
I don't know. But those are the ones that immediately sort of spring to mind, but I also just feel like it's harder for me to think of one that's not forbidden love.
Oof, yeah. What about something
Loving Annabelle, forbidden love.
Incredibly True Adventures of Two Girls
Two
in
Girls
Love.
in Love, also forbidden,
Forbidden
love.
Love.
The L
I'm
word
gonna
has some
say-
forbidden love elements.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like Crush. Crush didn't feel super forbidden lovey to me. It was just like I fell for the wrong person, right? Like
True. Not forbidden. That's the triangle trope, you know.
yes, yeah.
That's
Much
a
more
love triangle
triangle-y.
trope.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire is very again,
forbidden.
like
I
secret
think
glances,
more of the new
hidden hand touches.
Yes. Obviously like the newer kind of, right, like the bottoms of the world, like the
Yeah, sure.
book smart of it all, right? Is like
Exploring something else.
yeah, and I think that's why I enjoy the newer kind of queer films because it's not like gay is bad. It's
Right.
just like I'm a silly teenager and like I'm trying to figure out if this girl likes me or not.
Well,
Oh,
and it's
so
like
crazy.
even the ones that have like some of a mix of that, right? Where like Fear Street, right? I would
Mhm.
say the more like the 1994 story of Fear Street is not super it's a little bit of we're on the opposite side, we're on opposite sides of the line of town, whatever. But all of it sort of hinges on this, hey, in the 1600s,
It
you
was
couldn't be
forbidden.
gay without
Yeah.
cursing your whole town for hundreds and hundreds of years to horrible deaths, right?
Yeah.
Like it still sort of rests on this foundation of like the Puritans were after you, right? Like
Mhm.
it's a little God, it is really a lot of them, isn't it?
It's so many of them. I mean, also First Kill. I know we didn't get a lot of seasons of that, but like First Kill is like First Kill is so hilarious with the forbidden love aspect of it because it's vampire. Like that is
Yes.
that is particular one I find very interesting. Maybe we can dig into it because it's like that's taking a straight forbidden love trope and just making it gay. Like the fact that
Yeah.
they're gay isn't why it's forbidden. It's like the angel Buffy.
Well, this is why I think First Kill is so funny to me in the context of this is because First Kill is on more of the newer modern like let's explore different types of queer stories where you can't it's not just that you can't be together because you're gay.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not it, but also we're still going to make sure it is like highly forbidden love.
Yeah, you still can't be together.
Right?
But
It's
I
like
mean,
it's
to be-
not that you can't be together because you're gay. That's totally fine. It's just that one of you is a vampire and one of you is a vampire hunter and therefore it's forbidden.
Exactly. But that's the thing. I think we just need it's not that the forbidden love aspect of it is problematic.
Yeah.
It's the fact that most of these stories hinge on the fact that gay love is forbidden.
Is forbidden. And honestly, listen, I'm pulling up a list right now of like other things we've done as Less Essentials, and it is wild. It is wild how many of these, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna say like Saving Face counts as forbidden love, so does the half of it count as forbidden love. Teenage Bounty Hunters, I'm gonna say is forbidden love. Fear Street, we said. Dickinson, forbidden love.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of that? Better Than Chocolate, forbidden love.
Forbidden.
It's like literally everything, like
single
everything on this list. Handmaiden, forbidden love.
Every single one.
Every single one. This is wild. That's wild. Because I'm going to say there are a couple that I'm seeing on our list that I do think are interesting as far as examples of ones that aren't like bodies, bodies, bodies. Not a forbidden love story. Just murder, just death.
Just death.
Just everyone dies.
Yeah.
I would also say San Junipero is interesting to me. I think it's like a little bit of both. You have one person for whom it is that and one person for whom it isn't, which is also like an interesting mix, like mashing those two things together to be like you have one person
like the happiest
who's like,
season.
How dare you?
Forbidden love.
How dare you do that to us?
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah, the forbidden love is she should never have been with her
But
in the first place.
But I'm a cheerleader, forbidden love, because they're at freaking gay
cheerleader.
conversion camp. D.E.B.S forbidden love because one of them is a villain and one of them is a D.E.B.
Also a little because they're gay, though. I mean,
a little bit because they definitely have some weird homophobia when they walk in.
I can't even talk about D.E.B.S without just wanting to watch D.E.B.S again. I fucking love that movie. It's so good.
It's tough.
It's so good.
But yeah, let's discuss the intersection of queerness and forbiddenness.
There has historically been something inherently forbidden about queer love stories, and that I think is why, obviously, it shows up in so many, right? Like, I mean, how many things did we just...
like, literally anything that is a period piece. Anything that's before.
And by period piece, we mean from, like 2010 and back.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. 2010 feels like the benchmark.
Back anything from Doma and Bass 2015 and
is literally so what we've had 9 years of potential non-forbidden love stories. That's in the grand scheme of media is minuscule. One of the other ones I thought of was A League of Their Own.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, God, such a good one. I'm writing that down so I don't forget that we should come back and talk about that
such a good one.
Some more as well.
But yeah, there's no way to get around it. Or you would just be historically inaccurate, like, and lying. Like, I get that we would prefer that the stories not be those.
Sorry, Gentleman Jack. Sorry.
Yes.
So many.
But
Just an endless running list of stories where the main conflict is we can't be together because we're gay, right? Our love is forbidden. Our love is taboo. Our love is against the law. Our love is against the church. Our love is frowned upon by society. Our love is forbidden by my parents. Our love is, right, like it is...
It's endless. It's endless.
Endless.
What's also sort of a funny question to ask, though, is do we still, like, even though we're like, ugh, stopped saying we can't be together. Is there
do we want to?
Yeah, like, is there a remnant of, as much as you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that, there is some piece of you that has seen so many of these stories that you're like us against the world, like it almost feels more exciting to like be with someone and be like, nobody wants us together.
Yeah.
Like, the world doesn't want us together, or like, because then it's like, now we have to live boring hetero lives like the rest of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a quick break and come back and we're going to dive in. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/Lez Hang Out today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Lez Hang Out.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Right now, there are more forcibly displaced people in the world than at any other time in recorded history. Queer and trans refugees are uniquely vulnerable due to state-sponsored homophobia and transphobia. In more than 60 countries around the world, same-sex intimacy is criminalized, and LGBTQI+ people face severe forms of violence and persecution because of who they are or who they love. Rainbow Railroad is a global charitable organization that helps at-risk LGBTQI+ people get to safety. Since its founding in 2006, they've helped more than 13,000 LGBTQI+ individuals find safety through emergency relocation, crisis response, cash assistance, and other forms of support. Rainbow Railroad is the first queer organization to partner with the U.S. government to bring at-risk LGBTQI+ refugees to the U.S. through Welcome Corp. This program allows everyday Americans to privately sponsor refugees from around the world. Volunteers help queer and trans refugees build a new life with dignity by empowering them with critical support and resources. Due to barriers in asylum and traditional resettlement, Rainbow Railroad also advocates for governments around the world to protect the right to seek asylum and create expanded and flexible pathways to safety for at-risk LGBTQI+ individuals. Learn more and support their work at rainbowrailroad.org or emailing community@rainbowrailroad.org.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Baking Hershey's Kisses peanut butter blossoms is the perfect way to celebrate the holiday season with friends and family. With their classic, rich, creamy milk chocolate taste, there's no better way to heartwarm the holidays than by baking with Kisses chocolates. Find Hershey's Kisses holiday chocolates at your favorite retailer.
I want to talk about the question that you just brought up, which is like, do we want stories that don't hinge on this? And I think one thing I will say is like this, it is not the only trope that exists.
Yes.
There are other romantic tropes. There are other sources of romantic conflict, right? Like we named some like big hitting straight like hetero romance things that hinge on forbidden love as the main like conflict driver of the story. But it is not the only one in existence. There are other stories, and we are starting to see other stories, right?
Like the best friends to lovers,
best friends to lovers, enemies to lovers. Like
would you consider enemies to lovers to be a forbidden love story?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just like the conflict of like
Not
what
liking
creates
someone
passionate,
and then being like, yeah.
Like where does passion come from in a relationship? And like honestly, we could talk about like the problematic things that I think come out of that trope as well, because there are a lot of them.
Okay, like the Notebooks of the world, is that a forbidden love story? Yes, because they're two different social classes.
Yeah,
or would you consider them more to be just like a separate trope all.
It's a little bit of I feel like there's two tropes at play in there, right? Because I do think that like class like disconnect love stories are a
like
type
the Titanic
of
is
yes,
also
like the
forbidden
Titanic
love.
is a forbidden love story for sure.
I like give us two freaking lesbians with a steamy window and the hands.
Yeah.
Please. You can still
give
keep Kate
us-
Winslet in there. It's fine.
Give us Kate Winslet in something other than Ammonite. Okay. Who said
Please.
that? What? Ammonite, another forbidden love story,
Yes.
right? But no, okay. There are other tropes, okay?
Yes.
It is important to recognize that there are other tropes. And it's not like forbidden love is a bad trope. I don't think it's a bad trope. Here's what I think I find interesting while we are in this period where it feels like we are shifting out of these being the only stories we can tell, right? Is that this overwhelmingly dominates queer stories and queer representation and queer media, right? Like to a, as we just covered, almost ludicrous percent, right?
Yes. Probably
It's-
95%.
It's so prominent. And the thing is like, if we as poorly evolved monkeys are sort of primed to love this, right? And to love that rush and that sense of like breaking the rules and like the taboo-ness of it and the like that feeling of like doing something that you're not supposed to and like how that's so hot and sexy and fun. And like here's my problem. When you set up queer people to believe and to only ever see that and to associate romance with like that level of like hot, sexy, spicy forbiddenness, right? Is that a problem for queer people's ability to form lasting relationships in a healthy way?
Well, yes. I mean, because a long-lasting, healthy relationship in and of itself cannot be forbidden.
Right.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like
at some
there-
point, like
there-
you cannot live a secret life
Right.
with someone indefinitely. Like the the exciting part of the forbidden love is also a little bit of the like, I don't know the right word, but the brevity of it.
Yes.
Like, this cannot last forever. Therefore, it is so exciting in the moment. But there's no way to maintain a forbidden love story for 80 years. Like, even in the Notebook, at some point they had to choose to be together and like either say like, okay, screw off to society, right? But we're going to be together forever. And still their relationship is actually quite toxic. But you cannot write a story where these characters stay together forever and live happily ever after, because the tenuous nature of the forbiddenness it
wears off.
It's not meant to last.
It wears
and
off.
It will wear off. If either it wears off
thing.
and then you're like, okay, I'm bored.
When you say like, let's talk about forbidden love, what's the first example you gave?
Romeo and Juliet, they're dead.
Right. And they die. Right? And so Romeo and Juliet, like, again, I know it gets discussed a lot when people like, oh, let's analyze the text of Romeo and Juliet and all this stuff, right? And one of the things you always talk about is you're like, Romeo and Juliet is always discussed as this, here's the top of romantic stories, right? And you're like, these are two teenagers who were told that they shouldn't do something, and so they immediately do it, and it ends horribly because this is a bad idea, right? And you're like, this is not and probably should not ever have been the be-all and end-all of what romantic stories look like in our media. And yet somehow, here we are. And I think nobody experiences that truth more than queer people who have seen almost nothing else forever.
Well, and I mean, add on top of that the forbiddenness and the death, because most queer stories are like, this is forbidden, and
then
not just, and then you're dead. Like, it's like, this is forbidden, and because of the forbidden nature of it, either you're about to be beaten, assaulted, like, it's not like the hot and sexy forbidden we get in hetero situations, right? The stakes of the forbiddenness are much higher in safety for queer storylines, right? So even though you're like, oh, this is cool and hot, then you also add on top a huge element of danger. Whereas like the danger to the heterosexual forbidden stuff is like, oh no, my wife will catch us.
Right. If you don't drink poison willingly, your odds of being brutally murdered are much lower, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure. Yeah.
So I feel like it's also interesting to add that on top of it, where it's like, you can do it would be good for us to still have some forbidden love stories, but where the stakes aren't or even if it's not death, being ostracized from society,
hate
your
crimes,
your family disowning
shunning
you, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is, the stakes are very, very high, which is why honestly Romeo and Juliet is like sort of like the closest to a lot of queer stories, because to Romeo and Juliet, the stakes, because they're idiot teenagers, the stakes were so high, like in their brain, the stakes were so high that they might as well have been gay. But like, they're like, no, like, if I can't love you, I have to die. It's like, Jesus Christ.
But again, which is why I can't be mad at First Kill, because I think someday when I just have nothing but time on my hands, like, I will write a whole dissertation on how, like, no, First Kill was great, actually.
Yes,
because it
was
wasn't,
epic.
but also it was. And because there are so many interesting things I find actually about that show that don't need it to have been better than it was to still be interesting to talk about. And that is one of them, because First Kill is it's so fascinating to me to take the trope of forbidden love in the context of a Romeo and Juliet story, make it queer, but not make it be because they're queer, make the stakes be death, but not because they're just idiot teenagers, but because literally they're like on opposite sides of like
they will kill each
endless
other.
bloodshed war to like massacre each other's like races, you know? Like there's so many things about it that I'm like, it's actually very interesting, but also bad, but also great, but also not well done, but also let them fuck against trees. Anyways, it's fine.
Yes. but the discourse
I
that
wish
it
we'd
starts
gotten
is,
more.
Yes, but the discourse that it starts is the interesting part about it. Like you're saying, the
Yes.
discourse of what is it like to see a queer story where the forbidden love is not them being queer?
Yes.
And what are some of those other like moments that we could have like that? And really, First Kill is one of the only stories where the forbidden love is them not being, it's not because they're queer.
And here's what jumps out to me too as you're saying that. It is on a very small list of stories where the issue at hand is not that they're gay. That had nothing to do with it, right? But it is one of the can we think of another one? Because otherwise it's at least the only one that's in my head right now. It is an instance of forbidden love that is gay, but is not because they're gay. And it fucking exploded. Like, it was so much more popular than so many, I mean, objectively better shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that say about us? And are we a little fucked up?
Yes, it is because
are we a little
we are
fucked up for
it
the
is,
fact that, what is it just that, because, okay, you take people like you and I who are like, ugh, I'm so tired of period piece dramas where it's just forbidden love and longing and they can't be together and they're gonna meet in secret. And like deep down, it's not like we hate those kinds of stories. We hate watching it where you're like, but why can't there be something other than like, because society has forbidden it and therefore you're gonna die or be killed or like live a sad, lonely life until you die of old age by yourself alone with no family, right? Like you and I are tired of the context of the forbidden love stories, but does it look like we gave queer people an opportunity to say, hey, do you still want forbidden love? You just want it to be for a different reason than being gay? And
people overwhelmingly said yes.
By the millions were like, fuck yes, we did.
Yes.
What does that say about us, Ellie? That's what I want to know. Are we okay?
It just says we are gays. They're just like us. Like, it just means we're like everyone else.
But
like,
are we when we don't have anything else? Like, that's the thing that I worry about, because I feel like there is this way in which queer relationships in media have been boiled down to the excitement, the passion, the heart, the part that gets your heart racing is the forbiddenness of this relationship. And you see that play out. Like, we know those people. You know those people who are like, oh my God, all I want is to like go after straight girls because then it's like hot and exciting. And like all I want, and like when can't.
Straight girls were gonna get brought up in this conversation.
Yes, but like think about the tropes that we have around like people who like serially date straight girls. Think about the tropes that we have of like lesbians who just cheat on their partners all the time and are like super predatory, and all they ever want to do is to like be on the chase and have it be like, oh, it's taboo and like I shouldn't be doing that. Like, we know those things.
Yes.
We know that shit, right? Where does that come from, and can we ever get away from it when this is all we have? This is all we've ever seen. This is how we were taught to be gay. You were taught to be gay as it
forbidden.
Being forbidden.
Yes.
That's fucked.
I agree with you. I think it is for sure why we have a lot of people who have a hard time maintaining like stable, healthy relationships in the queer space, because they're like, the only way to be gay is to be secretive, is to be excitingly forbidden.
And here's what I want to know. Here's what I want to know, because I feel like we are right now, like I think we are at a really interesting turning point around this, because just what you were saying, like think about the movies that are coming out now, really just in the last few years, like really recently, that you're finally starting to see a shift into, there's actually other things. There's other
There's
ways
other
to
kinds
tell.
of stories.
There's
could
other
tell about
kinds
gay
of
people.
stories.
Yes.
And so here's what I think is interesting is I'm curious if there is going to be or is already starting to be like this disconnect in that mentality, and I'm curious like where that
what
would
age it hit that?
Well, yeah, because I mean, so just think about it, right?
From
Like
the
think
L
about
word
kids.
generation.
Think about we're old. Think about the difference that we're gonna start seeing in kids who grow up with bottoms, with Booksmart, with bodies, right? With these movies as their cultural touch points compared to people our age who have grown up with one story.
Yes.
And that's it. And that's all we've seen.
I mean, I hope that it's a positive impact. But
what does it look like though? Like what does that mean? What's in store for us? And are we just going to be relegated to this weird dust pile of history of like gays who grew up having like this fucked up these fucked up ideas and this fucked up view of relationships and this fucked up view of dating and this fucked up view, like I don't know. I think it's interesting and I think it's weird when you look at what that has done to our community in some ways.
We'll see though, because yes, people are making more films that are less about forbidden love, but still Romeo and Juliet was written a long ass time ago and people are still recycling that story in our media. Like, so even if it's heterosexual, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if the forbidden love is going to really go fully away.
I don't think it's going to go away.
I am curious to see the impact of stories that are not just about you can't be gay.
Yeah.
And what that lends itself to in our queer media landscape and our queer dating lives.
Yeah.
We shall see. Let us know. Let us know, children.
Let us know, young listeners. We know you're out there. We know you exist. You write to us. Tell us what is happening. Are we all just
overthinking this?
Elder gays are all fucked.
Or are you all screwed too?
Are you all? No, but you know why I think it's interesting is because like, okay, so we talk to the girls about all sorts of stuff, right? Like, and sometimes it's really interesting because again, it is weird to be raising kids right now. It's weird to be raising kids in a world where you sit down and like, we took the girls to Pride and you try to explain why Pride exists to kids who don't have any capacity to understand that, right? Because you're trying to tell them about stuff that they have never once seen or experienced. Like my kids have never experienced a world yet in which it is different or weird or wrong to be gay.
Well, yeah, and especially them in particular.
Right. That's
because
what I'm saying.
They
like,
have gay mothers.
I understand,
also.
like, that is not the case for, like, all children their age, sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, for my children, right? They are growing up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
in the 20 teens and 20s with two moms. They don't have any frame of reference when we try to explain, like, we have Pride because gay people didn't have, because people told us it wasn't okay to be this way, because people couldn't, because because we couldn't get married, because you didn't have all the safety and rights and stuff. Like, you say the words and they're 5. It
don't
means
get it.
nothing. It is totally meaningless to them. But what I wonder about is, like, my kids will get older, and right now, like, they don't watch a lot of TV and movies, right? And the TV and movies
so you're gonna
that
show
they
them
watch,
Bound, or
yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm bringing it to kindergarten. We're all gonna watch it together,
your
you know.
And lesbian is in Les Essentials, girls.
But someday, yes, Ellie, someday my kids will watch Bound, and someday my kids will watch Carol and Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Gentleman Jack and A League of Their Own and Imagine Me and You and all of these movies. And what I want to know is, like, are my kids just going to be sitting there side-eyeing me being like, Mom, what the fuck? Like,
I mean, to be fair,
what the fuck are all these
probably.
movies?
I
Like,
don't know
what
if it's
is
because
this?
of the movies or
Are you
because
all
of-
okay? Is this why you're all in therapy? Like, is this why every millennial's in therapy? And we'll be like, yeah, maybe actually. I just think it's weird because I think is a shift. There's a shift that's happening, and it's a shift that I didn't really ever think about before because
until
it just
today.
well
Until this episode.
until now. No, but it's like it's interesting to me because when we wrote this topic down, right? Like this topic exists on our list
From the first season.
because First Kill came out. No, it's not from the first
okay.
season. We added this on our list of topic ideas later, and we added it specifically after First Kill came out. And we added it, I think, in a very haphazard kind of thought through way, right?
Mhm.
Where we were just like, oh, we can talk about First Kill and stories of forbidden love. And I think, at least I can tell you for me in my brain, I think because it just seemed so natural to be like, oh, that's a forbidden love story. And that's interesting because forbidden love stories to me are like inherently queer,
Yes.
right?
But are they inherently queer? Or is it just because we've
Right.
only seen forbidden love stories?
Or is it that?
Because everyone writes gay love stories as forbidden love stories.
And I think it's
both.
the latter. I think it's very strongly more the second part. Like I think it had not occurred to me when having that thought process of being like, oh, forbidden love, first kill, queer, ha ha ha, right? I don't think it jumped out at me when I wrote that down. Like what
Mhm.
why that was such a weird, prominent thing to, like, such an association in my brain. And how First Kill was actually very different from
The
so
usual
many
forbidden love stories
of
yeah.
the forbidden love stories that we tell because we're so used to forbidden love stories. And so you're just like, oh, it's a forbidden love story. Of course it's gay, right? Of course it's a gay love story that's a forbidden love story, even though it actually bucks the trend strongly.
Yep.
In ways that I actually find really interesting. And then it's weird when you sit down and look at so many of these stories that we like, and so many of the times when we're like, I'm so tired of period pieces, and then you're like, fucking love Imagine Me and You, fucking love D.E.B.S, fucking love But I'm A Cheerleader, right? And you're just like, yeah, could you please take my forbidden love story and just transport it into a modern setting, please? Like,
Please. Yep.
what?
We
Are
still
we
love
better?
it.
Is that
No.
any better?
Yes, it is better.
Is it though?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Just because I hate period
They
period
tend to
pieces.
get dead less. That's
Well, yeah, and it feels less depressing. I feel like
Yeah,
a period piece is Romeo and Juliet, and like some of the more like the D.E.B.S of the world and contemporary ones are like, what's a straight forbidden love story that's also freaking depressing?
Well, okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
Here's
Like,
what I think
they're
you're
just
saying.
less depressing.
No, here's what I think you're saying. You're saying sometimes in the modern ones you get a happy ending, which you never get in the period pieces. So is it
Yes.
just that you and I like happy endings and therefore we started a queer production company with guaranteed happy endings?
Exactly.
Oh no.
Exactly.
Oh fuck. What are we discovering about ourselves through this episode, and is it things I'd want to go back to not knowing consciously?
It's okay. I can.
Is it just that we only want a happy ending?
Yes.
Is it just that I want our lesbians to
could
fuck against
literally-
trees?
Yeah, that you could literally give me any story as long as they get together in the end.
As long as it's a happy
I
ending.
literally don't care what happens in the middle. Like the entire sandwich doesn't matter. Just make sure that they don't die and they get together at the end. I don't have a lot of criteria, Leigh. That's it.
And
That's
I have one criterion. That's it.
That's it. Honestly, it's so hard to freaking.
Is this why I'm so concerned about the fact that has our media made it impossible for people to have stable relationships? Because I'm only concerned with everybody having a happy ending at the end of the day.
Yes.
Maybe.
Wow. This really got deep, huh?
I'm not. I don't know if I wanted to go here. Actually.
Well,
now I have many more thoughts.
Here. You can't unsee this.
I can't unlearn the things we've talked about. I until we started making that list at the top of the episode, I don't think it had occurred to me just how
prevalent,
just how
forbidden
prominent
love-
this was. Yeah.
It's an epidemic.
That's
Forbidden
kind of-
love epidemic in
It's
our
just-
media.
I don't know if that's okay, actually. I think it's bad. I think this is bad for us. I think we as queer people deserve better. It's not that I don't think we should get forbidden love stories. Forbidden love stories are great. They're great. Nice, secret, heart pounding, whatever. Sure.
Well, I also think, like, as much as we very much, this entire show is told from the lens of what we consume and our media matters, and it does. But I also think there does get to be a point at which you form, like, a more adult brain that maybe has some of these subconscious things in it, which I think is what you're like, this is bad, this is bad.
Yeah.
But I do like to think that we as people can separate the media from reality.
But do the gays? Are we?
I don't know,
I
gays.
guess,
I mean,
my question.
do the gays, also do the straights. Like, how many people are like, I want to find my gym.
Yeah.
The gym to my
jam. And how many straight people still, cheat on their husband or wife or whatever. I mean, I get it. I know the allure doesn't go away of the heightened emotional state of the forbidden love type of situation. Like, I get it. I don't know, man.
And does art mimic life, or does life mimic art? We'll see.
Do you just want happy endings, gays? And if so, do you want them to be forbidden love happy endings? Tell us more.
Yes.
Email us at lezhangoutpod@gmail.com.
Let's dive the frickin'. Tell us about your forbidden love stories so we can
oh god, dissect it. Yeah, let's psychoanalyze your emails. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth talking about, though. And I do think it's actually important to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Right?
To actually think critically about it, to be like,
yeah,
wow, I love all these things, and you're like, wait, like, I feel like people will be like, oh, I really like teacher-student things, like, when I was younger, and then you're like, wait, this is messed up.
This
like,
is fucked up. Yeah.
So it's like, you evolve, and so I think this is part of an evolution of, like, wow, I really am watching all these forbidden love stories, and I'm digging it.
Is it sad, Ellie, that I feel like the distinction I've just decided on in my brain now is I'm like, straight people tell forbidden queer love stories with sad endings, and gay people tell forbidden queer love stories with happy endings.
That's it.
And like, that's it. That's the
difference.
Those are the two genders, everyone. There it goes.
That's it.
Good job, us. We've uncovered the secrets. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a fun conclusion now. I think that's just, I'm curious what people think. I wanted to dig in.
I think this is a good conversation for us to be having as a community. What does our love of forbidden love mean about us in our community? But yeah, I mean, I think we got into some good meat of it. And now I'm gonna go watch Imagine Me and You.
And I'll go watch D.E.B.S, and we'll both be thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
Good decisions. Good ideas.
All right, it's time for our Q and Gay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Q and Gay.
All right, Leigh. Question number 1: what is your favorite romance trope? A, forbidden love. B, friends to lovers. Or C, enemies to lovers.
That's so hard. I do love all of them. Is the problem? I just love tropes.
Tropes are
just
tropes
love tropes
for a reason.
I know.
You know.
And I don't know. I love all of them. This is so hard.
D, all of the above?
Yeah.
All
Let's
right.
do that. I'm adding it. I'm writing it in because I can. All of
Great.
the above. Okay, question 2, Ellie. What's your favorite queer forbidden love story out of A, First Kill, B, D.E.B.S, C, Imagine Me and You, or D, Portrait of a Lady on Fire?
C, Imagine Me and You.
It's
gonna take a lot.
So well.
It's gonna take a lot to get that out of my top spot. Like, can someone please make a movie better than Imagine Me and You? Like, please, actually, I would love to see it.
Take up the challenge, someone. We're begging you.
Please. All right, Leigh. Question number 3: do you think forbidden love stories have given queer people unrealistic expectations of relationships? A, yes, or B, no?
Yes, I don't think only queer people, but I think it's worse
It's not
for
quite
us.
healthy. Yeah.
No, yeah, I feel like it is not great that is all we've ever gotten to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Agreed.
Okay, question 4, Ellie. If someone put a burger in front of you and told you that you couldn't eat it, what would you do? A, eat it openly anyways. B, stare at it longingly. C, not eat it. Or D, wait for them to leave and secretly eat it.
It's going to be D for me. I don't think I could brazenly eat it, but like once they're gone, I'll be like, fuck it. Give me that burger.
Mm.
This is that's actually a really good test of someone's character. And it's shown everyone that I have horrible character.
You're like, it's a good test of character, and I failed that
and
test.
I failed. Well, you know what? It tells something about my character that I didn't lie.
That's
and
true.
say that
You're
I wouldn't
very
eat
honest. Yeah.
it. All right? Because anyone who says they wouldn't eat it, you're a liar.
I probably wouldn't eat it.
Leigh, you just love authority, huh?
The thing is, no, here's the thing. Really, you know the real answer, Ellie.
What?
I'd argue with them about why. Why can't I eat the burger? That's what I want to know. Because if there's a good reason for the rule, I do have a hard time not following rules. But
if you disagree with the rule.
Yes, I am annoying enough that I would argue with them about why that's the rule and then decide whether I think it's a rule.
It's
for a good
valid to
reason.
not eat it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you question authority, but
Secret answer E, be a smartass. That's
okay.
Usually that's usually going to be mine.
Great. All right, our final question. Question number 5. Have you ever been a part of a forbidden love story? A, yes, B, no, or C, in my dreams?
Okay, listen, I'm going to say yes, but in like the stupidest ways possible. Kelsey's going to hate me for telling this story. But, so, okay, like first of all, Kelsey and I started dating at a time where she was like ostensibly straight, right?
Yeah.
But also, we were on the same diving team.
Oh my God, scandalous.
So there was the whole like dating your teammate aspect. And I will say, I did get her kicked out of a competition once. And she's still mad about it because she stayed in my room. And we were not. You
weren't supposed to fraternize.
Well, it's not that we weren't supposed to fraternize, but like you had assigned rooms and we hadn't been assigned in the same rooms.
Wow, forbidden.
Yeah, very forbidden. And literally one of our teammates and like one of our friends like fucking like tattled on her
out.
that
That's
she
also
wasn't
just rude.
It
like,
was
why?
So fucking stupid. I can't even stand it. And also because the other thing was we didn't actually even do it on purpose. Like we literally were just like hanging out, like chatting, whatever, and like fell asleep. Like we didn't it wasn't even like, oh my God, she like snuck into my room and we were like getting hot and happy. No, it was like we literally fell asleep in a hotel room bed, like with my roommate still in the room, like my assigned roommate who could not have cared any less.
Yep.
But no, our teammate like told on her and then she wasn't allowed to compete. And we're like, but also she's our only good diver and like that feels really stupid from our coach's perspective, but okay, fine.
That's homophobic. Let's be real.
So anyways, but it was just the hot forbidden love of our early dating years.
Love it. What an episode. Took us by surprise, but here we are.
Truly did.
And remember, you can give us your own answers to the episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Lez Hang Out Pod.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community. So we just want to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. This week, we want to start with shouting out Devin Hales, who came to our listening party for Journey to the Heart last week. Have we mentioned that we love Devin? We love Devin. She's the best. And it was so great to have her there, have everyone who came to the listening party, everyone who's been coming to the listening parties every week. We just have such a good time at them. But we appreciate all of our cast who have been taking some time out to come and hang out, listen to the episodes, chat with people afterwards. So this week we're shouting out Devin. We also want to shout out our listener Bonnie, who messaged us on Instagram to mention that they're rewatching Charlie's Angels and we're excited to re-listen to that episode. And listen, one of the things I always say we love about the Should Have Been Gay episodes is you can listen to them whenever, wherever. You don't have to listen to them in order. If you haven't seen a movie or if you rewatch a movie after a while, we're so glad that they're there, ready and waiting for you. So good to hear, Bonnie. If you're also doing that, please let us know. We love when people kind of go back through the back catalog of, 100 plus Should Have Been Gays that we've done at this point. And as always, we want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster, Lizette Stye, Adi Benitez, Sophia Phillips, and Armani Gucci, and our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen, and Andrea Doucette. We could not keep doing this podcast without your support, without the support of all of our patrons. So we just want to thank you all every time. You are the people who keep us going.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Lez Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at lezhangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at lezhangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, make sure you subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up every week.
We're also posting videos on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/lezhangoutpod to catch them.
Lez Hang Out is an independently produced show. It's hosted by us. Our audio production is done by Ellie. Our production assistant is Krista Mearson, and various other shenanigans are done by me.
If you want to support the podcast, the easiest way to do that is to rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We love hearing what you have to say.
If you want to join our Patreon, you get access to so much good stuff. You get access to our Discord chat. You get access to ad-free episodes, Les Central's viewing parties, and so much more. You can join us at bit.ly/LesPatreon.
If you want to get some Let's Hang Out merch, you can get that at bit.ly/LesShop. We have all kinds of gay designs, so you can really show your gayness in a way that supports your favorite gays. And you can get that merch at bit.ly/LesShop.
Remember, we also have a queer production company making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings that you can find everywhere at Dollar Bean Prod.
Or at our website, dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can check out all of the episodes of our first show, The Flame, on any podcasting app, and our current show, Journey to the Heart, is releasing now, also anywhere you listen to podcasts.
And if you want to help support us in making more musicals, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/dollarbeanpatreon.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Leigh. And
And
let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean? I'm making
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.